Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another Live Your Life Wellness session. Today, we will be doing essential oils, and we have none other than Rosemary Jordan here. And Rosemary founded Rasmali Wellness. And I hope I'm not butchering the name, Rosemary. Feel free to just let me know after and jump in and give the proper name. And it's just a service where it's, providing individuals with opening and getting the awakening of knowing what it is to integrate life, health, harmony, and balance through so many different things using essential oils, as well as I'm sure you're going to teach us a ton of other things. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time, Rosemary. I'm going to spotlight you so we can go ahead and start today's session. I am looking forward to hearing all about the essential oils. Everyone joining, please feel free to go on mute. We will have some Q&A at the end, and feel free to throw questions in the chat as you go in case you want to access anything and you don't want to forget, because I know I want to hear some good things. So Rosemary, take it away. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandrine and Jackie and Nancy for having me, and Amita Care. So I'm really happy to be here and help you out, because it is such a stressful time. It's a PTSD, post-traumatic stressful time with COVID, and there's so many things that we can go over to just kind of alleviate that. So I'll start off. I'm going to be sharing my screen and doing a little PowerPoint and just going over some of the relative information about, let me see, I'm going to play this. I always get to this part and then, oh, there it is. Wait. This little thing is higher. Hold on. There we go. Okie doke. So we're doing aromatherapy and stress reduction, and it's such a wonderful method of impacting stress and hitting it immediately. And I'm going to go over some of these specifics and what happens physiologically in the body and the brain and your emotions when you use aromatherapy, which is categorized as essential oils typically. And here's a little bit about what we'll be going over. What is stress? Why do we stress? How does stress affect our life? What is aromatherapy, and how can aromatherapy help to reduce stress? And what essential oils to use and how for stress reduction? And we'll be going over some questions in between. I may ask if you need clarification, and at the end of the presentation. So stress affects our mental, emotional, physical, and our spiritual well-being, as you all have probably have experienced in your life. And one may link into the next. So, and sometimes when you have a little stress and it starts adding up, it begins to multiply into a more chronic condition or long-term health condition. Some of the statistics recently, this past year, are that the American Institute of Health has found that people, this is a high percentage of a third of percent of people reporting, and this is from a vast majority in the United States, a feeling of extreme stress. Of course, this was taken from November 2020, which was in the middle of COVID. And then the 70% of people experiencing stress that affects physical abilities. They're 73% a mental health impact, and 48% having trouble sleeping because of stress. And the Global Health Organization also is reporting like 75% of Americans experience moderate to high levels of stress. That's a very high amount. if it's moderate to high. And stress is the number one health concern in high school students, which is really brings us to a lot of attention to how is everything impacting our kids and how can we help them? And there are really great methods with aromatherapy. And 80% people feel stressed at work. Anybody agree? Okay. So some of the top causes, of course, are financial situations, work, the economy, family responsibilities, our relationships, and just health issues if you're dealing with it within your family or yourself or your pets, as Julissa mentioned earlier. There's also housing costs, job stability, family health problems, and personal safety. So all of these add, and then when we go to what we've had to go through in the last year and a half, almost coming up to 2 years, is walking around in a whole different way and with a lot of fear, which is the underlying major stress to have that going on for such a long time in the body. This is just a nice little graph of the effect of COVID-19's impact on mental health. And the United States was showing up higher than all these other countries that they were surveying. This, of course, was in February to June 2020, which was in the major impact of COVID. But it shows that how quickly we were impacted and how that sustains in our system, the stress and like the post-traumatic stress that can happen. I'm going to go over just something physiologically that happens with stress. So we're animals, we're mammals, and we, as cavemen and early on, the bigger stressors were things that were going to hunt us or kill us. And the body and the mind work together in protection. And so the physical body will send an alert and say, you know what, we got to get out of here right now. And let's get all of the muscles and the blood flowing, the heart rate up to engage, to get out of this situation that's stressful, like that's a survival element. And this is part of our makeup. This is part of our genetics of being able to survive in our bodies and get away and protect ourselves. And what has happened is that these physical these stresses that we have every day are more mental, emotional, and they come in. We think it's not really a survival. It's not really something that we need to run from, and we don't utilize our physical body as much to get away from something that we perceive as stress. So what happens is it manifests and starts building in the body. And this is just a really cool picture from Very Well. I just want to credit them, that your eyes dilate. So your eyes begin to get bigger. They start looking for, how do I get out of this? Heart rate goes up. It's ready to pump blood to get you moving, to protect you. But physiologically, really what's happening, you're not being faced by the tiger. There's nothing chasing you. And then things like skin condition, there's all different things that can happen here. I'll show you some of the other physiological things that happen and the symptoms. But in our brain, if you see that little red dot in the brain on that model, that's the hypothalamus. And it basically is like your command center of what do you need to do now, and sends messages through the nervous system. And particularly, it's like stress hormones that are released to try to protect and pump up adrenaline, which makes you want to run and get out of a situation. And this is great. This is great if you're really being attacked. But the problem when we have our perceptions and what we're experiencing, and we go, oh, I have all this work to do and I've got to get it in, and you feel this tremendous amount of pressure, and you keep thinking about it, and it prolongs, and it's just in this loop within your nervous system. It begins to create this anxiety, possibly, that is actually not, it's a perceived anxiety. It's maybe headaches or insomnia, it's sleeping because you're thinking about it. It's in your nervous system. And all these things are creating like a baseline of symptoms that eventually can develop into more serious conditions. And it's good to know, good to take note of, are you having any of these symptoms that are starting to show up? Because you need to address them. And really what needs to happen is an interruption in the system. Here's some more symptoms that you would want to be aware of, like high cholesterol, your heartbeat, of course, and your breathing could increase because of that anxiety. Usually the digestive system is off, and the sugar levels in your body can go off too, like pre-diabetic numbers. Increase in stomach acid because of that irritation that's building. There's no release of all of this, all of the buildup of energy, basically. It's really a buildup of energy, but the relaxation response in the body is not engaged. It's not been activated to begin to settle down. And your protein synthesis. So if you're eating, the foods you're eating are not actually being synthesized at their utmost efficient way and getting to your cells and your organs and your systems effectively. So all of these things are very important to recognize if you have a symptom, because most of the doctor's visits are related. 75 to 90% of illnesses are due to stress. And this is significant nowadays because in the past, it may not have been a factor that was really recognized. It would be like, oh, you have high blood pressure because you're eating this or that, or, but now it's more of like, hey, let's get to the bottom of it. And this is the cause. Another sad thing is like the 13% of children developing anxiety disorders due to stress, and 51% of adults suffering from chronic stress experience symptoms of fatigue. Which, anybody have fatigue? Anybody feel like, oh, in the afternoon you just want to take a nap? It is typically an adrenal type of fatigue where the adrenals have been pumping adrenaline to go in flight, and they crash. And it's like, I don't have any more of that spunky energy because I just depleted it all weeks ago or months ago. Even a chronic fatigue type of situation starts happening. So, and this constant stress of it, of course, is going to impact the heart and physical violence. So then you have also the emotional factors that begin to happen with stress building up. People don't get along. They're not actually operating from a connected place, a grounded, balanced, like Zen place, like they're just reacting off of energy. And this creates violence in the workplace or at home. And then And then many people will resort, and they're saying 60% of adults drink alcoholic beverages, which the alcohol industry went through the roof, during COVID, because people needed something to calm the nervous system. But you don't want to calm the nervous system with shutting it down. And that's where essential oils can be very helpful. They can also take people off of addictions. So, so interrupting the cycle. And I'm sure many of you have seen like essential oils. I just want to go over the definition of aromatherapy. It's a therapeutic use of plant-derived aromatic essential oils to promote physical and psychological well-being. That's a pretty big statement, because to basically bring the body and the mind into balance, to bring the emotions into balance, is what this little bottle of oil is doing. The oil is a plant-derived substance, which is an aromatic compound, and it's in the plant to protect the plant. So it's so interesting how it protects itself against certain insects, like there's aromatics within the plant that will do that, or other pests, or it will heal itself with its own natural aromatic substance, which is an oil. And here's another definition from the Webster Dictionary. Inhalation of or bodily application as by massage or fragrant oils as from flowers and fruits for therapeutic purposes. And broadly, the definition of aromatherapy is the use of aroma to enhance a feeling of well-being. And that's the essence of it, is to bring yourself into connecting with who you are. And it's so simple. I'm just going to demonstrate for a moment. So I have a bottle of lavender, which actually, during a presentation, it's recommended to use lavender and spearmint because it actually promotes like a calmness in the throat and a wanting to express and talk. If you need, if your husband, like, your partner is like, hey, he or she's not talking to me, you take out your lavender and you use that and you begin to get conversation. They might open up everything to you. So, but taking a drop of lavender, which most people know about, and you rub it together and you inhale into deep inhalation. And I'm going to show you what happens with that in a moment, but it begins to hit the brain and the nervous system. And it's also in your hands and will go deliver, as the Webster Dictionary is talking about massage with aromatherapy, it's going into the skin and into the body, that pathway. But before I go there, which I forgot, I was jumping ahead of myself. The derivatives of essential oils are from all different parts of the plant, depending on which plant it is and what you're trying to derive from. So it can be flowers, it could be the bark, it could be the roots, it could be seeds and leaves, and any of those, or even resins, like from like frankincense, for example, which I'll show you a picture of that. That's really cool. It's like a resin, and this is all distilled into a essential oil. So it's broken, it's like heated and distilled and done in a very specific process in order to make the oil. And I just put this quote because I thought it was interesting. Smell is a potent wizard that transports you across I can't see it all, wait. Let me see. My screen has got too many. thousands of miles, I think. I can't see it because my screen's blocked. The years you have lived, odors instantaneously and fleeting cause you to dilate joyously or contract remembered grief. That's by Helen Keller, who had her sense of smell was her main sense, because she was blind and mute, deaf, I believe. So all of the senses except her smell were available for her to live. So imagine that. And as you know, when you smell something, your memory can be triggered immediately. Like you walk into a room and you, like somebody is cooking like apples and cinnamon with like something like, you know, this time of year with the cozy warm spices, you know, like cinnamon, clove, all of those, which are oils too. And you smell it and you're like, oh, I feel like sitting down and like cozying up, you know. That is your memory, and that's going into your brain to direct that emotion. So I brought out my lavender a little early. Sorry about that. But lavender is, as I said, is probably the most common known essential oil, other than probably CBD oil nowadays. But this restores a sense of grounding, calming, stabilizing, and has such an earthy and fragrant grounding sense. So here I want you to try to smell that, if you can look at the colors and take it in perceptually through your eyes. I know it's hard when you're doing an aromatherapy class and there's no there's no oil to smell. So this is just basically how the brain is functioning while you inhale the oil. It's going into the olfactory bulb, which sends these little electric impulses to the limbic system, which is your hormones, your emotions, your reactions, your pain, your moods, your motivation. The limbic system, and this is where we're like, we're bypassing that reaction we have when we're thinking that something is really intense and it's too much and we're stressed out. So this kind of breaks the pathway. And it happens so immediately, especially with essential oils. They're so connected to emotional repatterning. And this goes into your body. And I'll show you another picture of showing a little bit deeper. So it's going through the limbic system and hits that hypothalamus, and then goes to those hormonal places like the pituitary gland, the thyroid, adrenals, reproductive and digestive hormones, goes to all of these immediately. Like it takes about 20 seconds to get into, it's just immediate when you smell it, and then it gets through to these systems. Within 20 minutes, it's like definitely in the organ or the system that you need. And the skin is another pathway. And as I was saying just earlier, is that I put it on my hand, it's going into the skin, and anything you put on your body goes right into your body. So if you put a chemical on your body, your body's gonna be like, oh God, I have to deal with this toxin, and I have to like try to detox it out. It's another stress and it's another load. So it's very important to know what you're putting on you, because the skin it's your biggest organ, actually. It's going, and it's very like absorbing, and it will go to all of these systems. And this is just the example of like aromatherapy. You know, if you have a cold or something and you put a couple of drops in of like eucalyptus or oregano oil, and you breathe it in and let it come up into your nasal passages and help to heal that. So diffusing is another way of getting that aromatic receptor through the nose and nasal passages. And this is, your sense of smell is 10,000 times more sensitive than any other sense. And again, your smell can change your memories, ease your tension just by smelling. It's pretty wild. Relieving pain and things like that. So I guess one of the biggest things I need to, tell you is that, you can get essential oils anywhere today. You can buy them in the store, at Walgreens or one at CVS or whatever, or you can order different ones anywhere. And there are no regulations on what is a high quality. So it's really important to make sure the purity and the standards are extremely high. Some oils say they're organic, but really research this extensively, and also the consistency in which the company will be testing the oil batches that they're making. And purity means that it hasn't been adulterated or there's no things added. There's a lot that goes on in distribution. Somebody, a distributor may be selling an oil in the US that said, oh, it's organic, but in between there may have been some things added and even just not even oils. I mean, it's pretty bad what goes on. There's a lot of pirating in essential oils. So that would affect your body, and it could affect people having allergies. A lot of times, even with pets. I know online on Google, there's a lot of information on don't use essential oils for pets, and it's really the type of oils people have been using have been toxic, because the little animal is going to be much more receptive to toxicity. So just be really careful. Check check who you're talking to about it, and just, go through a few channels. That's what I would suggest. Because anything more to tax our bodies is not going to be good. And the effectiveness of essential oils is basically going through the cell membrane. That's a cell, and the oil is able to pass through the membrane because it has a relationship. It's a natural substance. It's not like a synthetic. A synthetic oil would not be able to do that and actually cause a little bit more of a problem, because your body's trying to fight it. And essential oils are safe. They're 100% safe if they're pure. And they have no side effects and no addictions. Occasionally, sometimes maybe there may be some, let's say, like a like a contact dermatitis type of immediate reaction that can be diluted with a carrier oil. And a carrier oil, it would be like a vegetable oil, like coconut or olive oil, whatever, like pure vegetable oil you would have to reduce any type of over hot oil that make you, if you came in contact with it. But always make sure it's certified pure and therapeutic type of grade that you're using. This is just an example of application on topical application. This is using this picture actually has salt on there too, put with oils. You can use essential oils in your food. I put it in my salts for cuisine. I make like herb de Provence or an Italian one or a Mexican one. So I put cilantro in the Mexican one. I use different oils like that, and that's going to enhance your food and calm your body internally. Also, sometimes oils are capsulated to take internally, and this is really significant to know that it is the right kind of oil you're using for this, that it's really pure. So definitely double check on that. And this is our Frankincense resin. I know in New York we see this a lot on the street. People are burning it, with incense, and you'll see these puffs of smoke, and it's used a lot in traditional ceremony and spiritual. It's a very highly regarded spiritual oil in a lot of religions and traditions. And the reason I'm bringing up is because it's one of the go-tos. It's basically the king of oils. It's used, and meaning that if you don't know what to do, just grab your frankincense and use it. Like, smell it. You put some on the back of your neck. It goes right into the spine, and this is a topical application right on the neck or anywhere on the spine, but neck is nice and right at the top of the neck, and it goes up into the brain. And then, of course, the aroma of it will help to create relaxation. But really, it's almost like anything you can think of. Frankincense is pretty good. It's like a grounding oil. It's a focus oil. It's good for mental focus. It's calming. It's strengthening. Any questions on frankincense? It's also a spiritual oil, like it elevates your spirit. So that would be a really good one. And it's made from a tree. It's so rare. It grows on rocks in mountains and like high deserts that are like 140 degrees. Very hard to cultivate. That's why it's more of an expensive oil. Copaiba, I wanted to bring this one up because it's a cannabinoid oil which hits the cannabinoid system, similar to CBD, but not CBD in having any psychotropic effects or anything like that. It's hitting different receptors, but cannabinoid receptors. And this oil has been extremely amazing for pretty much every system. And they're actually doing a lot of research on this now. And presently the latest is that it's excellent on respiratory system too. But Copaiba, another tree oil. And if you think of like where, a tree, it's like in the ground and it's rooted. And if like you hug a tree or you touch, it's like got that earth energy, and it's giving you that kind of anchored way of being. But this is amazing, this oil. And it's called Copaiba. And if you need to, you could take snapshots of these too if you want. The next oils I'm going to present are more in the citrus oils. So they're like very uplifting and exciting and energetic. And one in particular that comes up very high on the scale for stress is bergamot. Does anybody know what bergamot is also a name of? You can just
unmute. Is it also black tea?
You're very, very close. It's Earl Grey tea.
Earl Grey, there you
Got
go.
it. Yay. Yeah. And I guess they use black tea and then they add Earl Grey, which is the citrus fruit, which before I knew this, before I didn't know it, I was like, really? However, a lot of the bergamot tea doesn't have real bergamot because it's been adulterated and it's synthetic, actually. So, but I take a drop of bergamot and I put it in my tea. And I make this super duper bergamot, but it's excellent at calming nervous tension and releasing like emotional pain, releasing emotional tension, improving your mood. But also I use it at sleep too. Really nice for in combination with vetiver and cedar wood. Really wonderful oil, and it's got that little spritz of uplifting citrus, which if you look at this picture and think of what does that smell like, and what do you feel like when you imagine smelling orange? And orange has Orange is in a lot of different blends that are calming blends because it has this element of satisfaction and like, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm abundant, and I can move on. And it has the energy of the sun is reflected in it. So it's that positive energy that comes up. And I would say like most of the citrus oils are wonderful. And now we're going into more of the floral oils, which are Lang Lang, Neroli, Rose. There are many others, jasmine. And these particularly have a really good way of pulling people out of depression. So one of the symptoms of stress is shutting down, kind of getting low, and a little citrus will bring that energy up, but that rose on the heart, Lang Lang, Neroli, even for women especially, very good for the hormonal balance. And you put this also, you can put it on your pelvis, on the lower back, and diffusing it is really wonderful. I know rose is it's probably the most expensive oil. And it's like so hard to make because they're using the petals and they have to be a certain time of day that they're picked, and they're fragile. So it takes pounds of oil of petals to make like 1 ounce of oil. But it's very healing for the heart, calming and brings you back, and very good for grief. So those are the florals. Whoops. And some other oils like Roman chamomile. Has anybody heard of Roman chamomile or chamomile tea? So Roman chamomile is a particular type of constituents. Excellent in calming nerves and insomnia. Also good for skin conditions and relaxation. A lot of animals will be very drawn to Roman chamomile if they're anxious. Frankincense or Copaiba, just for the pet owner people. And marjoram, which also is wonderful for pain and grief, and also the heart circulation, and in combination with rose is really wonderful to relieve those heart issues. And again, promoting relaxation and calm. So these are just some, like a summary of some of those ways of using the oils, diffusing or inhalation, the aromatic way of utilizing the oils. And if you look to the right of that chart, it says from the bottle you can use directly, you can roll on. There's ways of using oils in roll-on bottles that are diluted with an essential oil with fractionated coconut oil, which will draw the oil in deeper into the skin and the body. And then there's internal for certain oils, and again, making sure that that's pure oils that you're using. And here I'm just going to bring up, like, if you'd like to take pictures of some of these blends that I didn't. Some of the oils are additional in these blends, so that they're also very good, like patchouli, which is a very earthy grounding oil, but these are combinations. And if anybody has any questions right now, that would be a good time to open that up. And what I'll do is just click through these slides because I have a lot of blends here.
I wanted to ask you, can I order from, I really would like to try these.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To order, I can order it, or give me a link that I can these stuff.
I'll leave my contact information if you need to consult with me, and I'll talk to you about the possibilities of different
Awesome.
types of oils that you could get, or the brands and that. and we could
Yeah.
discuss it. Yeah. Yeah,
All
I have my contact at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that question, because I was going to say, how do we find, maybe stores, whether it's online in our neighborhoods, that
Mhm.
provide quality essential oils. I think sometimes we go into, let's say, a larger store. I don't want to name particular stores, and we see things that say essential oil, but how do we know if it's, really pure or, mixed with chemicals or things like that?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, one of the things to look for is it's really hard, because if you look at an oil, it says therapeutic, it says organic, it says all these things on it, is to investigate the number of tests that they're performing on the oil and the batch of oil. So let's say there's like one big, batch that there's 1,000 bottles of oil made out of, and it's not tested, and through, I would say, at least 10 different tests. And if you can't find that, then I would just kind of move on, and on each bottle, if it has like a number that you can reference directly to look up that oil and see what the constituents are, because you're looking for what's in the oil. It's like, CBD oil is very, you can get it anywhere, and people say, oh, this is really potent. Most places you can't find the actual numbers, and you'd have to bring it to a lab. So you want a company that's going to be doing independent testing outside of their company too. So different external labs are testing their product and other people's products, and they bring back a report. That would be another thing. So those are the ways in which you got to do it. I in the past, I don't know, years ago, I ran into trouble because I started noticing there was bad reactions I was having, and some of my clients, and I was like, I can't even use oils because I didn't know a company, and I had to keep investigating. So,
Right.
but if you have a question, you can call me, or, contact me on my email, or,
Awesome.
and we can talk about it. I can kind of give you an idea. And yeah, even with your pets and stuff, that's really important, because they're very small. Yeah.
Now, I have a question. So some of the oils that was used for massaging, do you need to I guess kind of like mix them with something? Like, is it okay like to use like lotion, and just like, say for instance, you get like, most of the jars are in the store, they're about that big or whatever.
Yeah.
And you get maybe like an unscented lotion, and you can just pour the oil in there and use it that way to massage into the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can,
No.
like with a lotion, I would use like a couple of drops. But also, again, you want the lotion to be very clean too, because that's going in your body too.
Right.
So definitely, that's another consideration. Also, you can use oils like base oils like coconut or almond oil or sesame oil, whatever, but a high grade. Fractionated coconut is, it was mentioned in one of the slides. Fractionated coconut oil is the fat is taken out of the coconut oil. And what they have found is that fractionated, it drives the essential oil really deep through the skin, deeper and faster. So it's a really nice application when you're using that. And you should be able to get some of these, the fractionated coconut oil. It's easy to get too.
Is that like at Whole Foods, or is that going to be more like a health food store or something like that for that? And will it say that too on the joke?
Typically, if you have a good essential oil company that's creating their essential oils, they'll have a fractionated version that they make themselves, and then it's kind of more trusted because it's coming from them. But I would yeah, I would check out where those oils are coming from too, because there's a whole thing with coconut oil that can be that it could be adulterated too. So yeah, I mean, you're putting it all over the body or on the whole back, and that goes right into the spine, which sends it to the nervous system, which sends it to everything. And that's typically the massage is on the back. So you do want to be particular about what you're putting on your skin and on that area too. Yeah, good questions though. Really good. And here's anybody, this is a peaceful blend. Is there anything stands out? Vetiver, which is a very soothing, that's a very deep oil, very good for sleep. And Clary Sage, really good for women's health, in case you're taking notes on this. And Forgiving Blend, why would I put that up there? Forgiving Blend. What I found is that, with stress and sometimes, like when I'm working with clients and I notice they have some condition like way outside of forgiveness, doesn't make sense. And what comes up for them, because I test them out, I do a certain kind of testing, and what comes is forgiveness. And sometimes it's forgiving yourself, or it's forgiving and having forgiveness from others, that because there's so much emotional energy connected with stress and it's hitting into those layers. So this is, I did put this up because it's important. And it's more of like a learning slide, and myrrh, that oil myrrh is in there. It's the mother oil, or like frankincense and myrrh, which was typically used in ancient civilizations and religions. Myrrh is the mother. So it's the holding, it's like the comforting oil. So any oil you put with it, it will like hold it and it will deliver it and kind of embrace it. So it's a really wonderful oil. Also, Arborvitae is it's a kind of Arborvitae smells like erasers. Remember when you're in school and you'd have that eraser smell and you go, oh, this, has this smell. I mean, it literally kind of has that smell. So anyway, but it's a really good, antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral. It's like an amazing oil for that. It's a tree oil. You can buy them on the street. So the Calm Down blend is simple: lavender, geranium, lemon, and sandalwood. Stress buster. Notice here, this one is more with the citrus to bring a little more energy. If you're like going to work out, you need to derive more energy. If anybody has questions, just like pop in. Relax your busy mind. This is great for the brain and soothing. Juniper, Siberian fir. These are the tree oils.
I have a question, Rosemary. I know some of these, like the bergamot, the orange, they can be teas as well, right? Like we talked about bergamot being Earl Grey. And I know I've grown up where you can peel like an orange rind and you boil it in warm water. And that's another way of getting the essential oils, correct or no? Or is it more so nutrients?
Yeah, what'll happen, actually, the one thing that'll happen when you boil, let's say the peel, it'll change and break down the constituents that would be therapeutic, like medicinal, like actually have a very specific medicinal potent quality. So what happens when they distill, they don't really distill the citrus oils. but they're actually pressed. So all of the skin is squeezed and it's created that way. So those oils in the skin are taken out in a cold press situation. It's not hot. So heating can actually degrade the quality of an oil. But you'll get the smell and you'll get something, like you get that, the smells of it and the taste. It just won't have the potency of a therapeutic ability. But it's a really good question. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So these are, and the citrus oils are typically less expensive too, like $10, $12, $15, maybe. Like grapefruit's a little more. I don't know why, but bergamot, again, orange, lavender, and clary sage, easy day.
I have another question, Rosemary. When you get these oils, is there a particular place on your body that you should place it, like perfume on your neck? I heard earlier you discussed something going on your spine area.
Yeah.
So is it based on the oil, there's a particular area, or are there just particular areas on the body that oils are best absorbed?
Boy, there could be a million things you could do with that one, but to get it really basic is in a pinch, what if you don't know, is the points that will be like immediate pulse points, and you'll get direct inhalation as you put it in your hand, get it on the neck. Like I always typically will tell people, get it on, and it's the occiput, which is like the base of the skull, and the spine at the neck, and the pulse points here, like what perfume was originally used. Essential oils were perfumes in ancient times. So they were put on the pulse points going to the heart, like on the wrist, which feeds the heart, on the neck and throat, in these areas. So these around the ears, and there's all these reflex points, like reflexology, that you have on your feet too. So they're all here. I also put a lot of earthy, like the tree oils on my feet, like Siberian fir, frankincense, or any oil on the foot actually has a super absorbency. The bottom of the feet have different capillaries. So the skin is different than, your hands are a little similar, but they're not as absorbent. But the feet have this absorbing ability that within 20 seconds, it'll be in your blood. The essential oil will be in the blood and changing and interacting with cells. And they've done that in labs, and I've seen like slides on that. But yeah, and there's points like in the middle of the foot that are more for digestive system, like all the organs are in the bottom of the foot too. So you can do a lot of reflex pressing with the oil in it. So there's all that too. There's a therapy called Symphony of Cells. This practitioner developed that utilizes different sequence of oils on the spine and then the feet. And you would put like frankincense on the spine and on the feet. And then you'd put wild orange, and you put it spine, feet, and you put about 10 different oils depending on like a condition. And you can zero in on helping somebody through chronic condition or acute condition, like they have a cold and they need to use this protocol, and it kind of moves it through the body, and it feels so good. I do it myself. I do it to myself, and I just pour the oil down my spine, on my feet, and it's like you got your own massage from the oils, and it's quite amazing. Yeah, but that's a good question. Did I answer enough? Okay.
I just want to go to that point, Sandrine's point. It almost seems like, aromatherapy is kind of like all of the, the pathways to bring energy into the body. It's just like an olfactory energy,
Yeah.
absorption. And do they often use it along, in addition to the reflexology points, just the meridian points and the meridian lines that go in to treat certain conditions, whether you have liver toxicity or other issues? Is that what the cellular approach is about as well, when you're saying healing specific conditions, that they're actually following those ancient meridian points?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the reflex points are usually the end points of the acupuncture points, and then you have the meridians that go like up your legs, in case you are not familiar with that. And you can do acupuncture. A lot of friends of mine are acupuncturists, and they're using the oils with acupuncture. I have a friend who just uses the oils now, and she doesn't do acupuncture, but she uses the meridian system. And she said they were just recovering so much faster from the conditions they had when she was using aromatherapy in conjunction with the acupuncture. So the lines of energy. There's a woman, what's her name now? She changed her name. Her name is Desiree, but she got divorced. But anyway, her last name is different. And it's a kind of a difficult name. But if you need that information, definitely, she has some great workshops on the meridians and using oils for those specific systems energetically and, for physical, mental conditions too. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, good question. Here's another one. Are you guys taking pictures of these? You can. Chill out. I mean, I sometimes just I put these in my diffuser too. We could do 4 lavender, you can do that way. You can put it into a bottle. You can put it on your hand. You can make roller bottles, they look like this, and that's the kind that you roll on. Thing with citrus oils, I just wanted to mention too, be careful if you go in the sun and you put it on your skin, like bergamot or any of the citrus oils, and you want to wait about 24 hours because it can create a burning, like a sunburn. And then we have anxious relief, clary, sage, marjoram, lavender, wonderful for, again, women really benefit from the clary sage and lavender and lang lang. Stress no more, frankincense, lavender, and rose. Renewed calm, patchouli and vetiver. Oh, and there I am. And this is my favorite little photo because it shows, in the beginning I showed you a tiger and of course zebra, but how animals utilize, they're in touch with all these plants, and they're needing to go to certain plants to eat or to smell. I can't believe this picture, but yeah. So I think what has happened is that we've become so, especially if we live in the cities and metropolitan areas, that we're removed from nature. That are, the best thing for me, I live in New York City, has been these oils. They've saved my life over the last year and a half, at least, because of, the shutdown and everything. That, it brings me back. It's like, there's the forest, So if you guys have any questions or just want to chat about any of this, you can contact me directly. You have my phone number too. So I'm really here to help you out. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And I hope I could have transmitted some of this oil and you could smell it through these waves.
Rosemary. It was a
Thank you
great.
so much, Rosemary. And
Oh,
you
you're
gave us
very
tons of information. I saw Jalissa writing a ton
Yeah.
down, and
I'm-
I was trying to get some
Screenshots, and I wrote
screenshots.
that. And
That's
I will
great.
be calling you too, girl.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. So for those who be watching after on our YouTube station, definitely check out Rosemary. Her website is here. Her email is here where she can share questions and feedback about aromatherapy, especially for stress reduction, especially in a time like this, using, of course, essential oils. And I know I got a ton of information today. Rosemary, we can't
Yes.
thank you enough. And we
Thank
hope to just see you again in the future with some great information for us.
Oh, yeah, it's my pleasure. It's been really fun. Thank you so much for having me.
you, and we'll be in touch, definitely.